One of the most common ways that God punishes human beings for disobeying him is he destroys their love life. So a lot of times when you see people with a destroyed love life, like broken families, all that stuff, it is punishment from God. It is not luck, all that stuff, bad luck. It is punishment from God. And the proof is this. So in the 1950s and before, how were relationships as compared to now? They were very, very stable. It was a very, very high probability that you would end up married to your first wife till death do you part. It was very rare where you'll find broken homes, broken families, divorce. Those things were extremely rare. But now, when our society is not religious for the most part, at the most they just say they're religious, but they're actually not. Now it's the opposite. What's common is broken relationships. What's common is not ending up with your first wife, not living with her till death do you part. What's common, right, is breakups. That's what's common. And this is from the Lord. I will show you 6 verses that God explicitly states that because you disobeyed me, because you disobeyed God, he's now going to destroy your love life. So in Jeremiah chapter 6, verses 12, it states, it says, "And their houses shall be turned unto others, with their fields and wives together. For I will stretch out my hand upon the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord." And then he says the reason. "For from the least of them, even unto the greatest of them, everyone is given to covetousness. And from the prophet even unto the priest, everyone dealeth falsely." So God right here is explicitly stating that because the land is full of covetousness, and because people are dishonest people, he's going to cause their wives to be given unto others, also known as a destroyed love life. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 8, verses 10. God states here, "Therefore will I give their wives unto others, and their fields to them that shall inherit them. For everyone from the least even unto the greatest is given to covetousness. From the prophet even unto the priest, everyone dealeth falsely." God is saying the same exact thing. He's repeating himself. He's basically saying, I'm going to give your wives to other men because you guys are covetous and you guys are dishonest people. So whenever God keeps repeating something, okay, this is a common way that he's going to punish you for wrongdoing. Now, if you go to Jeremiah chapter 8, verses 38, chapter 38, verses 22, he states, "And behold, all the women that are left in the king of Judah's house shall be brought forth to the king of Babylon's princes. And those women shall say, Thy friends have set thee on, and have prevailed against thee. Thy feet are sunk in the mire, and they are turned away back." So the context of this place is God told Jeremiah to tell the king of Israel at that point, Zedekiah, to turn himself into the king of Babylon. Not fight in war against him, but to turn himself in. The king of Israel, Zedekiah, or the king of Judah specifically, because Israel and Judah were divided, so this is the king of Judah specifically, he didn't want to go, right? And God said, all right, if you do not turn yourself in to the king of Babylon, this is what's going to happen. And what God said was going to happen was that his wives, all the women that are living with the king of Judah, would now start talking smack and say, oh yeah, the king of Judah lost. The king of Judah, he's done. It's over. Those women would be taken by the princes of Babylon and be basically saying, yeah, man, he's done up. That's the worst. Your relationship is destroyed, and the woman is with another man, and she's saying, yeah, my other man, the last man, is done. It's over. He lost. Like, there's nothing. God knows where to hit you, where it hurts. Now, let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 12, verses 11. So if you go to 2 Samuel chapter 12, verses 11, the context of this is when David took someone else's wife, Uriah's wife, and took Uriah's life in order to hide the evidence that he had an affair with his wife while he was alive. So now God confronts David through Nathan the prophet, and now God is now pronouncing judgment on what God is going to do to punish David for his adultery and for his murder. And this is what God says is going to happen to David. It says in 2 Samuel chapter 12, verses 11, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this sun." And in verse 12 it says, "For thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel and before the sun." So God said, you secretly got Uriah murdered, and you secretly had an affair with his wife. So I'm going to make someone take your wives, and I'm going to do it openly. And you know who that person was that ended up messing with his wives? It was his son, Absalom. So kings have multiple wives, right? Absalom started a coup against his own father, David. And David had to run away from Israel. And while David ran away from Israel, Absalom slept with 10 of David's side piece women. That was not by accident. That was something God prophesied was going to happen to David. So this is what I'm saying. Whenever you are suffering in your relationship, a lot of the times you have to question, am I right in God's sight? And if not, then you are most likely suffering in your relationship, not because of bad luck, but because God is purposely making you suffer. God knows what men like, all right? And when you don't do what God likes, God will make sure that you don't get what you like. And he knows you like a good love life, and he's going to make sure you do not get it. Now, let's go to Amos, chapter 7, verses 17. So in Amos chapter 7, verses 17, God is basically saying here that there is a prophet, a false prophet, that was trying to persecute Amos, the real prophet of God. And he was telling the real prophet Amos, don't prophesy here. Leave. We don't want to hear what you got to say. Right? So then, this is what Amos said back to the guy that was telling him to stop prophesying in the name of the Lord. Let's go to verses 16 first of verse 7. Of chapter 7. So in verses 16 of chapter 7, this is Amos speaking to the guy that is mad at Amos for prophesying. And he's saying, now therefore, hear thou the word of the Lord. Thou sayest, prophesy not against Israel, and drop not thy word against the house of Isaac. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city. So God is saying right here, you are telling my servant to stop prophesying the truth. All right, I'm going to make your wife a whore. See, this was not, once again, bad luck. This was God purposely doing this to get this guy that had a problem with prophecy back. Bad relationships, for the most part, are punishment from God. The best way you can do, right? The best thing you can do to make sure your relationships are pleasing in God's sight and that you are pleased with your relationship is to please God. Do what God wants you to do. You're not going to get a good relationship by following self-help books or by watching things on the internet or, what do you call it? Like, it's not going to work, and definitely not from Netflix. Like, those things are going to destroy your relationship, actually. You want a good relationship, the best thing you can do is follow God. Because God knows that's what humans like a lot. He knows they like good relationships. The best thing you can do to make that happen is to follow God, what God wants. Because if you don't, trust me, like, this is a common way he punishes people. It is not a last resort punishment. Like, this is a common way he punishes people. If you don't follow and do what God wants you to do, he's going to make you lamenting your love life. Or if you're a woman, he's going to make you start coping, and he's going to make you say that you're single by choice and you like being single by choice to make yourself feel better by coping. And he's going to make you say you like the single life, and you're going to pretend that you like being passed around by a different guy every 6 to 8 months, right? And you're going to say that's what you like. You're finding yourself when in reality you hate it, but you're too prideful to admit that you don't have what you want. So follow God so that, what we really want as human beings, we actually end up achieving. All right. Now, I know people are going to say, well, in the 1950s and before, they weren't happy because in the 1950s and before, there was no feminism. Garbage. Listen, the rates of attempted suicide by females are higher now than they were back then. Okay? So guess what? No. Like, back then, both men and women were happier with their state of life than both men and women today. And the difference between now and back then was the amount of God that was in our lives. God was more in the lives of people back then, way more than he is now. And so if you take God out of your life, you are also taking a stable love life out of your life as well. Because remember, God is love. You take God away, you take all love away. You bring God there, you keep love.